reacting to the most disturbing TV hijacking.
Override broadcast signals on WGN-TV and WTTW, who managed to scramble Chicago airwaves. The pirates interrupted WGN and WTTW programming with a show of their own.
But Channel 9 wasn't alone in its max head.
It is a joke. Chicago's video
Oh my
could face
gosh.
a jail sentence and fines for his freelance exercise in public access.
Dude, like, what the, yo, like, why would you hijack, bro?
McMahon and McKinnon 14-0 Bears. Then the defense, which hadn't put up a sack in 12 quarters, finally did.
Dude, what? Dude, I've seen this before, bro, but I want to react to this again. This was crazy. I don't know if it was this video, though. Nah, this guy's creepy AF, bro.
But let's take a step back. Well, maybe a few steps. Sunday, November 22nd, 1987, 9:14 p.m. WGN-TV is presenting the highlights of the game between the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions, when suddenly it is interrupted by this signal.
Which hadn't put up a sack in 12 quarters, finally did.
Yo, what the heck? Yo, chat, how do you, like, even hijack some... Yo, chat, how would y'all even do that, bro? Dude, how would y'all even hijack something? That's crazy to me. How, like, do any of y'all have any idea, like, the technical things you'd have to do to even hijack something? Do y'all have any, like, technical ideas on how that would work? Found on, yeah, we're good. We're not doing that. That's too creepy. Y'all have any idea? Or no? Because, like, I feel like it must be, like, really hard. I don't know. Dude, like, what? Like, what?
This first initial broadcast hijacking is less well known than the second one, and only lasts about 17 seconds before it is taken off the air. The clip doesn't have any intelligible audio and
Like,
just
why?
contains a static-like buzzing sound throughout the duration of the interruption. However, we do get a look at one of the main suspects, the man wearing a Max Headroom mask, who can be seen moving and bobbing around as what is thought to be corrugated metal is rotated behind him as a sort of background. Shortly after this, when WGN engineers are able to return the broadcast to the football segment, the sports anchor Dan Roan comments,
Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I. Actually, the computer that we have running our news from time to time took off and went wild. So what we're going to do is start over from the top with the Bears and tell you once again about the 30-10 victory they had over Detroit today out at Soldier Field.
Let's start off with who or what Max Headroom even is. The character was originally created in 1985 and was advertised as the first ever computer-generated TV presenter. He was portrayed by actor Matt Frewer, and is most well known for, besides this incident, appearing in his own program called The Max Headroom Show, where he interviews guests and even comments on different topics.
Why would they do that?
But he's also known for being the spokesman for New Coke, as he appeared in many TV ads, especially those that use the catchphrase.
One thing I have to say, why would you want your hijacking guy to be a random guy? Like, wouldn't you want to be something, like, known or, like, yourself? Like, not yourself, because, like, you know, cops and all that. But, like, something known, you know what I'm saying? By the way, YouTube, I do not condone any of this, by the way. We're just watching a documentary on this. Shout out to the dude that made it. Who even made this video? Shout out to this dude, Source Brew. I'll put him in the description, by the way. Let's continue.
Catch the wave. So why was this suspect using a Max Headroom
Exactly,
mask?
that's what I'm asking.
Well, let's first take a look at the second and most infamous hijacking.
Okay, first off. Okay, this one's freaky. Okay, I don't know if I like this one. Okay. Okay, what the hell? Investigation, because like I don't want to see like him, like I don't want to see that, bro.
Captain Midnight HBO hijacking, which occurred a year prior in 1986, but that was just a simple message to HBO about their pricing, and the man responsible was caught not too long after. This, however, was planned on a much larger scale, and featured full video and audio that went uninterrupted before it was taken off the air.
Hey, I don't want to see this dude getting whipped.
Not by the channel or their engineers, but by the pirates themselves. Needless to say, investigation into this incident began almost immediately, with the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, looking into it, fairly confident that those responsible would be caught. However, it wasn't as simple as they initially believed. What we now know in terms of how the hijackings occurred is that they were done using microwave transmissions which were sent to the station's broadcast towers, which is very interesting for a number of reasons. First of all, these perpetrators had to have substantial knowledge of how signals and broadcasting works for them to be able to hijack not one, but 2 stations, which would have also been a difficult task technically as well. Even if you had the knowledge, it would require a very strong signal to overpower the broadcasts. The pirates also would have had to have been in range of both stations, very close most likely. Definitely narrowing down the suspects to being somewhere in downtown Chicago, near where the station towers were located. However, despite an investigation by the FCC, no one was ever caught in this incident, and in fact, there have been no official suspects or really any strong leads at all.
Really?
All we really have is circumstantial evidence.
That's
and
so
since the hijacking, some people have claimed to either be one of the perpetrators or know who they are, but none of these claims have ever been substantiated, despite the statute of limitations on the crime being surpassed way back in 1992. However, that doesn't necessarily mean we have no idea who did this. There are a number of theories as to who these culprits could actually be. Let's start off with the information we have about the pirates. We know it was perpetrated by at least 2, maybe 3 or more people, based on those acting in the video. Although it's unknown if these persons were involved in the actual
by the way.
hijacking themselves, or if they just performed or helped in the creation of the videos. Like I mentioned earlier, someone among them had to have pretty extensive knowledge of broadcasting and technical skill, and they must have been present near the 2 stations at the time of the intrusions on November 22nd, 1987 in downtown Chicago. While others believe it could have been any random person in the underground hacking communities located around Chicago at that time. It's really hard to determine a suspect in this case, because the motive for the
This is deep? Exactly, bro. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Broadcast is unknown. Was it just a joke, a simple prank, or was there a deeper meaning or message behind it? People have been trying to figure it out for years, but still, we really have no idea what the purpose of
It's alright, bro. This is crazy.
this even was, let alone who actually committed it. But there are theories on a few specific people that some believe could be behind it. The first suspect on our list is
this guy's creepy. This guy's face is creeping me out.
John R. McDougal, aka Captain Midnight, the same person who jammed the HBO signal and displayed this message on April 27th, 1986, a year prior to the Max Headroom incident. But with the first intrusion, McDougal's motive was clear. He was protesting the price increase for HBO's satellite dishes.
Hey,
However,
you know what?
okay,
it's bad what he did, by the way. I do not condone any of this, YouTube. But what I will say is at least he was doing it through a protest for something that was overpriced.
To this and promptly contacted the FCC, who launched an investigation and were able to narrow down the list of uplink sites that could have been capable of jamming the signal, and soon it was narrowed down to only 12 stations, at which point all 12 were
See, this quality is terrible.
Investigated, and McDougal appeared as the prime suspect. As a resident from Wisconsin, just so happened to hear a man bragging over a payphone off Interstate 75 in Florida that he was the one to do it. That way,
could have protested in a better way, though. Yeah, that is true. He could have, like, definitely protested in a better way. But I'm saying, like, at least he was doing it for protesting itself, but he definitely could have done it in a better way.
witness was able to obtain their license plate number, and sure enough, it was McDougal. who it was found out used a teleport uplink station in Florida to commit the signal intrusion at his second job, as he was an electrical engineer. He pleaded guilty to illegally operating a satellite uplink transmitter and was given a $5,000
Dude, that's
fine
crazy.
and
You have to be
1
so
year of
smart to do that.
unsupervised probation. No jail time, technically making it possible that he was the one who committed the Max Headroom incident, as he was familiar with the technology, also grew up in the Chicago area, and also fit the age range of the suspect. But this theory has quite a few flaws. First of all, the HBO hijacking had a clear goal and motive. No extra weird stuff, no video, no Max Headroom mask. Second of all, he worked alone, unlike the people in the 1987 intrusions. Also, of course, he lived in Florida at the time, so it doesn't make much sense for him to go all the way to Chicago, have access to the equipment necessary for hijacking, commit the intrusion with accomplices, and then go back to Florida.
It's definitely
and
not
never
this
be
guy.
caught,
It's definitely not this
despite
guy.
being found out relatively quickly for the 1986 jamming.
Definitely not that guy.
All in all, it's unlikely that it was
Very
him.
unlikely. I
Although
doubt
it
it's
does
this
make
guy.
for an interesting story.
Yeah, this was the video I saw, but this one's like, I'm happy I'm rewatching this because it's pretty cool.
In my opinion, this is the most interesting suspect. Not because the evidence is necessarily the strongest, but because of who this is. The person in question is Eric Fournier,
Who the
who
heck?
you might recognize for his work under the name Shay St. John, a character featured on a YouTube channel created by Eric that is a model made of mannequin parts.
That's
And
gross.
the videos featuring his character are known for their disturbing and surreal nature.
Dude, what
kind
the
of
hell? Dude, this is
similar
nasty.
to the Max Headroom incident, although that's not evidence of anything. Unfortunately,
I'm playing Hive tomorrow on stream. And Caesar MC on YouTube. Remember, I'm taking a break today off that.
the original channel has been deleted. However, there are many re-uploads of these videos.
What
But
the
the theory
hell?
that he was behind the Max Headroom incident stems from the fact that he lived in Bloomington, Indiana, which is fairly close to Chicago, and played for a band called the Blood Farmers during this time. How
Oh,
does
yeah, my
that
bad.
mean
You're
he's
good, you're good.
responsible
Tomorrow,
for this,
tomorrow.
you might ask? Well, I guess rumors spread around that he wanted more exposure for their band and their music
and plus,
video.
what I want to say is the stream will be doing better tomorrow anyway, since everybody's going to be live, even though I'm the biggest Hive streamer, except for Ponty. We don't count him. So yeah, it will make sense for tomorrow anyways, but I'm happy. I just need a day off because I'm sad. But hey, this is a pretty crazy video. I
And
forgot
so
how
they
crazy this
used
was.
equipment from a local TV
I remember just
station
watching it.
to
I
record a
remember the
music
guys.
video and broadcast it, but they didn't want to be
Shout out
caught,
to everybody
so
on the
they instead
Twitch.
just
Oh
put
yeah, perfect promo time. Twitch.tv/CaesarDoesEverything. Thank you for everybody that's shown up so far, and I'm live almost every day. All right, let's go. Let's continue.
played some weird prank, with Eric being
Have
the
an
Max
excellent day,
Headroom
bye.
guy, and making
Raccoon
stuff
Rascal.
up as they went. Yeah, this theory isn't very credible and doesn't really make any sense at all. Even his former bandmates
Nah, this
have
is
gone
so
on to
weird.
debunk
What the
this
heck
theory.
is that, bro?
His friend and former bandmate Harry Bergen even
What
said
is he
this
doing?
about the rumors. Quote, "This is ridiculous bullshit. Eric didn't know anything about video editing when we were in high school. We never made music videos apart from someone maybe videotaping one of our shows. We weren't friends with anyone getting degrees in mass communications and had no access to broadcast equipment. I think the only time the four of us were ever in Chicago together was to see a Pixies concert at the Riviera." And as for Eric himself, he sadly passed away in 2010 at the age of 42.
Rest in
So
peace.
yeah, very unlikely that Eric or any of his former
Rest in
band
peace, man.
members or associates were involved.
Okay.
And for our last suspects here, we have two brothers, simply called J and K, who are described in a Reddit post from 12 years ago, titled, "I believe I know who was behind the Max Headroom incident that occurred on Chicago TV in 1987. The post describes how the OP grew up in Chicago in the early 80s, and
Will not show anything bad? Okay, we're good.
was a part of the hacking scene, and knew two brothers that he believed were involved. Although he doesn't use any actual names in the post, he refers to them by letters J and K, with him naming J as his primary suspect. He describes one of his get-togethers with them in 1987 at an apartment in La Grande, Chicago. An apartment owned by K and his girlfriend, as well as another unknown
the
hacker
heck?
referred to as M. He describes seeing a very elaborate setup in the apartment. However, as I said earlier, he mainly suspected J. This is because he was said to have a disturbing sense of humor, very similar
What?
to the guy in the video. but once again, this isn't really proof of anything. However, he describes another party in the post as such. Quote, Jay was at the party in the apartment that afternoon. I didn't talk with him directly. Me and the friend of mine that I was there with didn't really talk to anybody that day. But I did overhear what the others were talking about. They were referring to Jay planning to do something big over the weekend. I remember that word big because it piqued my curiosity as to what might be considered big by their standards. I later asked them collectively during the dinner we all had.
Bro, Hive Halloween update is out now. I know. I'm streaming tomorrow on that. I'm taking a day off because I'm a little bit sad. But hey, that's okay because I'm going to do better anyways tomorrow since not as many people will be live talking about it except Ponty and I'm the biggest Hive streamer. So yeah, but tomorrow. Anyways, let's continue
the
chat.
hut later that night, what they were talking about earlier, what big was. And someone, probably Kay, told me to just watch channel 11 later tonight.
Why are you sad?
As
Talk
a
about it
sort of
after we're done watching
offhanded
this.
suggestion. I did happen to be watching channel 11
There's not really
later
a
that
reason,
night,
though.
having forgotten about the whole big conversation earlier that day. I saw it, but I didn't put two and two together at the time. I have no idea how he didn't remember that big conversation while watching the channel that same night, or how he didn't put two and two together. But point is, he suspected that Jay was the Max Headroom guy. The brother referred to in the video was his brother Kay, and the woman was Kay's girlfriend. However, in a later post, the OP claimed that both Jay and Kay were formally excluded as suspects in the incident, as he described how he, as well as Rick Klein, the curator of the Museum of Classic Chicago Television, spoke with engineers and technicians working at various Chicago TV stations, including WGN and WTTW.
This is interesting, bro.
The two stations that were hijacked in '87. Throughout this investigation and interview process, they were able to determine that it was basically impossible for this to have been an outside job, or in other words, someone working at or close to one of these stations would very likely be the ones with the knowledge and technology capable of committing this intrusion. So yeah, looks like it isn't these guys either. So who could it have really been then? There isn't any solid evidence pointing to any individual or group. All we have is circumstantial evidence and this pretty creepy and disturbing broadcast, which has captivated people for decades, due to the mystery and intrigue of why and how such a TV hijacking could take place. We know some bits and pieces about the possible identity of the Max Headroom guy, and we now know it likely had to be some sort of inside job. But that's really all we have.
What?
So unless someone credible comes forward claiming to know the culprit or claiming to actually be them, it's unlikely this case will ever truly be solved. But maybe there's something we missed. Some small clue that could lead us to who really committed the most disturbing hijacking
100%
in TV history.
Double your freaking video, man. Go check out this guy. Subscribe!